Hi, my name is Jess. I'm from MomoCon here with you on the Blerdkast. Be sure to like and subscribe and check it out.
You're now listening to Blerdkast, presented to you by Blerdography. What's going on, everybody? It's me, Mark, and I'm back again with another episode of Blerdkast, and this episode is special. Like all my episodes are special, but no, this one is very special because it's close to my heart. I am joined by a chairman of MomoCon. MomoCon itself, one of my vastly favorite cons now because of just how big it has grown. I can't wait to pick her brain. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ask. I forgot to ask you, what are your pronouns?
Oh, she, her.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. But I am happy to be joined by Miss Jess. Miss Jess, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone what it is you do for MomoCon?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jess. I am the co-chair and founder of MomoCon. Started back in 2005, so I'm a little old. Sorry. It is what it is. But yeah, I got started in 2005 running the show. I'm still one of our two co-chairs today, and we try to make it the best we can every single year.
I must say, everyone who's associated with MomoCon outdo themselves every year. I've been going, I can't remember what my first MomoCon was, but I must say, like, I come from DragonCon territory, your rival enemy in Atlanta, and I must say, MomoCon impresses me every year, hands down, just with the experience, the care, how the con itself is always constantly trying to evolve and be more inclusive. The volunteers, give me 5 seconds. I'm going to just spoil these volunteers for 1 second because they do such an amazing job. So I do press a lot, and the media team volunteers are cream of the crop. They cater to our every whim. They make us feel like family. Not to shame any of the other volunteers. I just happen to work with them a lot. But I know, like, the vendor volunteers down in the dealers hall, they do a lot of work, and a lot of the guests like dealing with the vendors, not the vendors, the volunteers in that area. And like everyone who I know who volunteers from MomoCon just loves it so much, and they consistently go back every year because you hear stories about cons and how they're run. You never hear that about MomoCon. So just thank you for the work that you have done.
Well, hey, that's a lot of other people's work, less so mine. That's a lot of awesome people that volunteer for the show every year, and I love them just as much as you do. So we certainly and hey, we're not enemies with DragonCon. We are partners with DragonCon. We are strategic partners with them. So we are still separate entities, to be clear, but they are our BFFs. So we love them.
I know. I was just joking. But again, just from the regular attendees perspective, like, DragonCon has like been in Atlanta for forever, and it's like the model con that any con in Atlanta tries to achieve to, with their number of attendance, with what they offer, like just how big it is. And here comes MomoCon all of a sudden, like back in 2005. And I know it started out small, and then later on came AWA, but MomoCon definitely has made a name for itself. Like, MomoCon is everywhere, regardless of what convention I go to. Someone's there representing MomoCon. Every time I go through Atlanta, someone's there representing MomoCon. So I love it. It's funny. I was this year when I found out that Momo was peaches, and I was like, I thought it was pink, but there we go. Because it's in the logo. I'm sorry.
It isn't. Hey, it's in the logo. Yeah, it's Momo means peach for your listeners, and we're in Georgia, which is the peach state, and that's where the name comes from. It also sounds really cute, so that helps. But
it's all connected. It's all connected. But no, seriously, just thank you so much. So why don't we just jump into it a little bit? What do you do exactly for MomoCon?
I wear a lot of different hats. So I help manage a lot of different volunteer teams. I am a direct report for most of our senior directors. I do a lot of our hotel backend stuff, helping work with our housing bureau to make sure the hotels are good for our VIPs and the blocks are ready. I do a lot of our social media and our content on that. I mean, I do a little bit of a lot of things. I do a lot of our badge mailing. I do a lot of our setups. A lot. It's a little difficult to like encapsulate it since I don't have one single role since I'm the chairman. So
No, I get it. You kind of just jump in and fill in and do whatever is needed. And that takes dedication and hard work in itself. I know it's a lot of like administration tasks and a lot of running around, especially during the con. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen you during the con or any of the other chairmen, even like the media relations director, Renee. I'll see her and she'll be like a blip or like a ghost. I'll see her after presence or something, but she was never really there to begin with, but she's everywhere. And Dana, oh my God, Dana did such an amazing job being over the media relations team this year. I just want to shout out to her and Julie and Raven and their whole team. Superb. I cannot praise them enough for their experience and just like how they made us feel. But like again, the entire con was great. The second Spider-Man attempt, I was in the middle of doing some interviews, so I couldn't make it. But from what I've seen and heard, it was awesome. Even though, unfortunately, because of weather and just like location change, we didn't get the record. But
Yeah. I
there's
think
always next
if
year.
it hadn't rained, I think we could have done it. If we'd have
I
still
do
been
believe that.
outside, we went up 100 people. I mean, like versus last year's attempt. There were 100 more spider people than were there for last year. So I think if we and just to be clear, the only reason we moved the attempt was because it was pouring down rain all morning and it was originally intended to be outside and then we had to make a call and it was just really annoying. The rain only came during that time period. We did not need it to show up and then it showed
Right,
up. So
right. And you know what? If you had kept it outside, because I think I had ran from right upstairs just before 2 o'clock, and I was like, okay, it's not pouring down raining.
yeah.
Maybe we could kind of nope, it's too late. You
Yeah,
already
no,
made the
I was gonna
announcement like
say
hours ago.
we had to make a decision at 10 a.m. and at 10
Yeah,
a.m. Like the sky opened up and it was just raining, and we were like, well, we got to do what we got to do. So
right. So what does it take to like plan and organize a con like MomoCon, especially with how big it's gotten over the years? Because again, you started back in 2005. So back then, almost 20 years ago, that it must have been just let's hang out together and see what happens. And then from there, you were what 50,000 attendees this year, if not more.
yeah, we were what were we? See, I should have these numbers off the top of my head. No, yeah, we were at 50. It was over 50.
Yeah, I
I'm
think it
gonna
was a
have to look
lot
it
over
up.
50. I think it was like closer to 60, if not more.
Yeah. See, I should know this. I of all people should know this. 55,800.
Okay, so
Yeah,
right, we was close.
56,000 is
Okay,
right, inching up on 56,000. So
okay, but yeah, what does it take to plan a convention like MomoCon?
honestly, a lot of people are, for example, right after the convention, a lot of people ask me, "Oh, have you gotten a lot of rest?" No, no, I have not gotten a lot of rest because some things take 1 year, a year and a half, 18 months. I mean, it just a lot of time, a lot of persistence, getting in front of people. Like if you want to do something, especially if you want to try something that hasn't been done before, figuring out how to do it is a really big piece of it. So a lot of convention stuff is well, like you said, mentioned before, Dragon Con's been around for a long time. A lot of the stuff kind of we can learn from our forebearers of what to do, how to do things, how to work things out, how to work with venues. Some things we do are brand new, and those are the things that take the longest. Figuring out what it takes to deal with X, Y, or Z to get to this result. And so I was booking guests in April of this year for 2025. Like I'm
Hmm.
booking guests as much as 16 months out from the show for the next, like for the following year. This more and more competitive. It's more and more expensive to do shows. So finding ways around stuff and buttoning up everything we need to button up takes longer and longer kind of every year. So
I get it, but there has to be some sort of, I guess, passion or something that drives you to do it outside of it's just MomoCon.
oh yeah, no, I mean I went to my first convention in like 2000 or something like that, and I've been a part of this community ever since and never really stopped. So, I mean, I was in a convention last weekend. I go to shows all over the country. We go to shows for a lot of different reasons. We go to shows for fun, we go to shows for learning because we only happen one time a year, but there are a ton of conventions that happen all over this country, more than just fan conventions. And I've never been to a convention that I didn't learn something from. So I love going to other conventions and seeing how they run stuff. I was in Las Vegas last weekend and I was sitting here looking at event venues. I'll never book a show in Las Vegas, but I'm a nerd when it comes to event planning. So like it's fascinating to look at like this whole infrastructure and then adding in the fandom content of it and the idea that people are coming out to the show to be included, to feel heard, to be with their friends. It's just a really great feeling to help facilitate that. So a lot of people, I guess, a lot of people have day jobs and they think, well, what am I doing and how am I contributing to society and stuff, type in at a computer. I never think that. I love what I do. I love making people happy. Like, I feel like my job is to make people happy for 4 days out of the year. And I love that.
Well, first of all, you're doing God's work. Thank you. Because the people who go to MomoCon and DragonCon, they need that 4 days to reset from their mundane 9-to-5 jobs. I am one of those people. So again, you're doing the Lord's work. You're creating a space for geeks of all ages, all backgrounds who can come and just enjoy themselves and geek out and just be around other people who just want to geek out and just disconnect. And I cannot commend you enough for that. Like, it's so many questions. Like, I'm not sure how long we'll be, because I could just ask you about MomoCon like till the cows come home. With that said, let me ask you this. What was your favorite part of this past year's MomoCon? MomoCon 2024, we're in the July, so it was about 2 months ago. It was obviously a success. You did a lot of new things. You did a lot of creative things that I'm like, oh, okay, they're definitely listening to the fans of MomoCon and making changes and doing things that the fans want to do. But just personally, what was your favorite part of the convention?
I'll be honest, my favorite part would probably it's multifaceted. My personal favorite part is probably the Spider-Man stuff because I'm a really big Spider-Man fan. And around the attempt, we actually had two of our guests come out for the Spider-Man attempt as well. Yuri Lowenthal plays Spider-Man is Peter Parker Spider-Man in the games, the more recent games that are out on like PS5 and stuff. And then my personal childhood Spider-Man was a guest at the show. And Christopher Daniel Barnes did Spider-Man in the animated series. He's Peter Parker in that one, from the one from the 90s. That's the first Spider-Man I was ever acquainted with, and it was amazing to me to be able to meet him. I don't geek out at our guests very often because I'm the one booking most of them, and I got to be professional. It was a little difficult because that's my Spider-Man, and that was a big deal for me.
I can get that. I get that.
But my favorite new implementation, I think, that we did, that it's something that it's such a simple thing. And we had talked about it since after last year's show we had a temporary footprint this year that was a little bigger than usual because we got pushed around by another event that was moving out and there was some complication. We won't have that in the future. We're going to have a much bigger, we have like the normal kind of space, but with a little bit more because we're growing. Because of that, we decided to, one of the guys that works with us brought a suggestion back from another convention who had done this, and it was a great idea to have rest stops in our dealer's room. And that's kind of my favorite implementation that we did this year because we had just banks of chairs and tables and things, and they're labeled on the maps as rest stops because the space is so large. And it's really like, I have this problem going to other shows. I go to, New York Comic Con and I got to sit down on the floor against the wall because I'm dying. My feet are just killing me. So we help being able to accommodate for that like it's a need I even have, at a big show. I was happy to be able to do that. And it's something we'll be doing going forward too.
Okay. You said something that I kind of want to talk about because did not know that other convention would impact the experience, but the Disney Con that was on its way out, and the reason why MomoCon had to adjust its vendor hall space.
So actually, it has nothing to do with Disney Lorcana. There was a corporate conference that moved out before us. And they had halls B1, B2, B3 until like Friday, and we couldn't even if we don't get them till Friday, we can't set anything up and use them. So that's why we kind of got pushed around. And that conference had booked 10 years ago, so there was not much we could do about it. That it won't happen again because it was a kind of a one-time thing. It's not like a conference that's always there. But yeah, it didn't have anything to do with the Disney thing. It had to do with another corporate conference that moved out before us. So,
Okay. That's one question out the way. The second one, with MomoCon having to kind of revamp the dealers hall. Not that there was anything wrong with it. It was actually deep. Like, you go down and I forgot what the first main area was in the first level. It was the gaming area. Then you go back, you go to the wrestling area. Then you have the cars on the other side. And then it was kind of a vast empty space there. And then you get into the main dealer hall area and Walk of Fame, Hall of Fame down on the other end, which I never made it down that way, believe it or not. That space just back there, being able to use all that was like great. Everything was so spread out. We wasn't like cramped like how we used to be in past years. I remember like in Dragon Con, not Dragon Con, MomoCon 2022, it was Saturday. You couldn't even go through the vendor halls because it was so packed.
Yeah. That's why we try to give more space. When I say we're back to normal kind of layout in 25, it's that area for all the way down the B hall we still have, but we also, in addition to what we had in 2023, that area where the cars was and that area where the Walk of Fame was are getting added to what we had in 2023. So we're not going to have the weird layout next year, but we are going to have more space than we had in 23 to accommodate for that growth, get more comfort for people in there as well.
Wow. So that means
it won't be bigger. It won't be bigger than 24. It's just going to be different than 24, but it'll be bigger than 23 space. So,
gotcha. That's good. That's a good problem to have. Always expanding and growing. Now, since we're talking about things moving around with MomoCon, there was one big change you guys did this year that I'm pretty sure everyone who attended MomoCon got something to say about. But you changed the dates from this year's MomoCon from last year's con or from any previous other year's con. So, a couple of things. Why change the dates?
It's the same reason. It's because of the conference that moved out.
Gotcha. Okay.
We got some of the rooms, in time to use them, but because we shifted a day, it was the only way to do it and still have it on the same weekend, basically.
Gotcha.
Because of that other event. It was a temporary thing. We're going to be Thursday to Sunday again. Like, we like Thursday to Sunday. We like our volunteers like having the Monday off from, the ones that get off for Memorial Day as like a cool down day. And the hype is much bigger on Thursday than it is on Monday. And you know what I mean? To add a day on. So we'll be Thursday through Sunday in 25. And we anticipate being Thursday through Sunday, forever.
Okay, because I hate to complain or just throw my 2 cents in there, but it felt a little weird. It definitely felt a little weird being Friday through Monday. I'm gonna be honest, Monday was not what I expecting as far as like attendance. Like, I thought it would be more people there than it was because it was Monday and people being able to be off. But it was kind of like, the last day of the con felt like Sunday because that naturally is the last day of the con. Because, normally MomoCon is lit up until the very last second, but Monday was like a little, okay, people are ready to go home now.
Yeah. And I mean, it happens. We knew it was going to be temporary, and we're doing what we got to do to make sure we can have the show. But yeah, it just got that other corporate event just kind of shifted us a bit. But all of that was temporary. So we're going back to kind of normal.
Perfect. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be happy about just going back to normal and just having their Thursday through Sunday and MomoCon being the con it meant to be. With that said, there is one aspect of MomoCon I would like to talk about that I'm pretty sure you don't specifically have any real domain over, but it was another kind of something I noticed and was hearing about a lot during this year's con, and that was the Courtyard area and how every year it seems to get less and less of what it used to be. We had the whole Ed Sheeran event that happened last year and this year. It was a couple other issues. Again, nothing that had to do with the con itself, but just some of the attendees acting up and issues with the music and the DJs, because I was in the middle of that for some reason. Don't know why. But the Courtyard area, that everyone who goes to MomoCon knows the Courtyard is the party area, especially on Saturday night, and it's usually a lit event, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we try every year to work with the venue to, I guess, get ahead of issues as much as possible. But you never know. I mean, sometimes things come out of the woodwork. So we're already working with the venue for clarification on what they want. Like they decided to be really strict for no reason and no warning about photography stuff. And we're like, hey, that's never been a problem before. Can we
Yeah,
fix this? Like that was unexpected for us too. Like we've been in this venue for 8 years. You've never done this before. What are we doing? So we're already ahead of it. We're already talking to the venue about like, if we need to sign some kind of paperwork, let's sign some kind of paperwork, for whatever we need to do for the photography stuff. We talked to them about limiting people's sound levels. There is some Atlanta ordinances that are involved in that, but not, they
right.
were extreme about it for no reason. And like, we're like, what are you doing? We work with the venue every year, but we understand the importance of the space, which is why if you notice this year, it was blocked off to people who weren't attendees because we had a
Right.
bunch of problems of like people coming in, trying to scam people. So we, cut
I'm
that.
fine with that. That
Yeah.
part,
I
that
think that was
blocking
a
off
good
thing was
addition.
good.
Yeah.
That was a
But
really good addition. But the
we
police,
we yeah, we talk to the venue every year and we're like, listen, people want to use this. Let's make it work for everybody.
right.
Like so we were, then again, it's a high priority for us. So
I understand. Now, this didn't happen to me, but I saw a lot of the press outlets, people who had either content creator badges or press outlet badges, get stopped by the venue security or by APD
yeah.
about filming and things, especially if they were like upstairs on the main level or outside. I was hearing a lot of those stories, but
Yeah.
I never had those issues. I was able to come and go with my camera gear and my tripods, and
Yeah.
no one said anything to me, but I have heard like a lot of other people did get stopped. So that
Yeah.
probably is an
Well,
issue.
and that's what that I'm not even kidding when I say it's like the second thing we talked to the venue about in our AfterCon report. Like it's like,
Mm,
why are you doing this? Like this was never a problem. Even our venue reps were surprised at how strictly it was enforced because they were like they were doing it in East Plaza and I'm like, yeah, they were stopping people in that's where the courtyard, their name for the
right.
courtyard. So I mean, it was like the second thing on our list to talk to them about, and we've already brought it up to them to work out with them. So
Perfect. 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 Now, I'm going to go back and talk about MomoCon and gloat about MomoCon a little bit more, but there is a special con that was presented by MomoCon that happened a couple of years ago that I would love to talk about because ever since it happened, everyone's been like, we definitely need another winter convention. So let's talk about Winterfest, presented to you by MomoCon back in 2021. What was the idea of that? And where did it come from? And why did we get Winterfest?
because we didn't want to pay a penalty to the venue for not holding an event in 2021. That is the God's honest truth. In
Gotcha.
2020, all venues, due to COVID in 2020, were like, hey, don't worry about it. All the venues in 2020 were much, much cooler about canceling events than they were in 2021. So in 2021, we had to make the decision way back in February whether we were going to have a full convention because it takes time. Like it's just not feasible to do a convention without that much time, lead or whatever. So we made that no-go call in February because if you'll recall, in January of 2021, almost nobody even had a vaccine yet, and like it was just who knew how it was going to play out. So we had to cancel our 2021 event and we would have faced a pretty big penalty cost for if we didn't have an event. So we made a deal with the venue and we're like, hey, what if we did another event, but we did it at the end of the year, once, vaccines are out and it's more comfortable for people. And so we just decided to try to do kind of a mini offshoot event. And a lot of people really liked it. Like you said, I've had people asking me about it constantly. We have no intention of doing it again. It was for that very special, specific circumstance. So we're glad people had a good time. But every time everybody asked me, like, when's the next Winterfest? And I was like, well, you need to get a time machine. And then you need to go back in time and go to 2021. And that's where you can find Winterfest. So,
Well, now, since we're talking about Winterfest and that time slot this year, we will have Anime Week in Atlanta during that time slot of
we
December,
will indeed.
2 weeks before Christmas, because of issues that con has had with their venue that they have been at for forever. And I'm, going to be honest, I think this is a good look for AWA. Honestly,
Yeah,
think it's a
it's
really
it's
good
gonna be
look.
interesting. It's definitely gonna be interesting. They're in C Hall, so They are on the far side. So if you are familiar with MomoCon, it will not be anywhere you've been really for MomoCon outside of the dealer's room last year. We used all of C Hall for the dealer's room last year, but the rest of the space will look very different to people because all the Congress Center halls kind of look pretty different. So
Yeah. Especially C&D Hall, because you got to go down the stairs, and then that courtyard area has a nice little fountain. So, not MomoCon, AWA is going to look really interesting this year. I can't wait to see all the Christmas holiday themed cosplay. Because that was the one thing I fell in love with Winterfest, presented to you by MomoCon. So I can't wait to see that. So I do think it's going to be a good look for them. They'll be in a new venue, different hotels. They won't have the alcohol restriction that they did last year that kind of blew the whole con up. A lot of people was mad about that. And I think a change of scenery and a change of venue and it's going to be a different time of year. It's going to just give a fresh look to AWA. Because I always felt AWA was more for the college kids. Felt like that with MomoCon too, but I was in college going to MomoCon at the time. But as an older adult, I'm kind of like, I'm a little too young for this convention. I mean, a little too old for this convention. Everyone's cosplaying anime I haven't even heard of yet because I don't have time to watch it all. So I think that's going to be great. Again, since we're on the subject of talking about cons of 2024, there was a few other cons that have come and gone. Ranger Stop and Pop, that happened a couple of weeks ago or about a month ago. That's a great con. Dragon Con is coming up. There's Collector Con at the end of September. We have Japan Fest and Korea Fest. Korea Fest. The Urban Nerd Con was supposed to happen, but sadly that got canceled. So let me ask you this: out of all the cons that happened in Atlanta, with the exception of MomoCon because of MomoCon, what is your favorite con to attend to in the Atlanta area?
That's a hard question. Well, I really like Southern Fried Game Room Expo that happened last weekend. I was sadly out of town for it this year, but I love that show. It's a really good show with a lot of pinball machines and like classic arcades, and it's really fun. And the guys who run it are fantastic. It's definitely a retro pinball show, though. Like, so if you're expecting more anime focus, it's not quite in the same vein. But I really like that one. I've been to Ranger Pop and Stop, and I really like that one too. I've been going to Dragon Con for over 20 years of my life, so I guess I'm committed now to that one.
Yeah, same here.
Dragon Con's always a great time. No, I mean, I love local shows. I will go to pretty much any local convention. I'm a little sad I missed Monsterama, which is like a retro like monster movie convention last year because they had some pretty cool guests. Atlanta has a lot of really good like niche cons that are smaller but are for very specific interests. Like we have a steampunk con, we have a classic movie monster con, we have several horror cons, we have a con about Sherlock Holmes, 221B con. I mean, there's like just so much variety in Atlanta that I feel like you could find a niche for just about anything that you want and find a very hyper specific community too. There's even like a tiki convention that happens in January, like tiki bars and stuff, that kind of culture.
I am going to go Google that and I will buy my tickets now.
It's called Vinu Hele, and it's like
great.
downtown. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. Oh my god, I lost my track. You got me thinking about something completely different. Okay, but yes, you are right. There are so many different niche conventions in Atlanta. Like the same weekend of MomoCon this year was the Walking Dead Con.
I thought it got postponed. I thought that show got postponed. The one on Memorial Day, at least. The one that was out in Sonoya. I think I know which one you're talking about.
I'm not sure if it was the one down in Sonoya, but I did have a friend said she went to. I'm not sure if it was the Walking Dead con. It was another con. It was definitely horror themed, and Walking Dead guests were there because my friend was on the. Oh no, it did get canceled. She did say it got canceled. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Never mind.
No, I was gonna say I thought that one had gotten canceled, but yeah.
Fun story. I grew up in Sonoya, and like right where you see the walls of Alexandria, you can see that from my grandmother's house. It's like literally like 20 feet down the street, and then it's there. But enough about me. So let's go back to MomoCon. MomoCon is such a wonderful convention. What could we expect next year that we haven't seen at MomoCon that you are allowed to say?
Well, there's a lot I'm not allowed to say, and that's kind of the problem. We are working on so much. I can let you know that we, in the last week, this week, and next week, we have 12 calls with different major companies, most of them international. Now, whether that stuff pans out, I don't know. We'll see. We're going to have more guests, more everything. We're upping our arcades again. We're increasing our space again. Uh, we keep adding space and we keep filling it up. Last year was a little bit of an anomaly, but this year we're kind of getting more in that track of just eating more and more of the Congress Center and the Omni space every single year, a little bit more. It's our 20th year. So the first MomoCon was in 2005. We are coming up on 2025. We are going to do a bunch of stuff, merchandise. We're going to do a display. We're working on a display of our archive. So you can walk through all the 20 years of MomoCon with a bunch of like old badges and t-shirts and pictures and all kind of stuff. We'll have, like I said, unique merchandise for the 20th anniversary. We're going to do some unique programming for the 20th anniversary. And we've got at least 2 kind of back burner ideas that are really cool. But again, I can't really talk about them until they're like confirmed and set. We have, I think, 2 guests on the website now. We'll probably have maybe 5 by the next 2 weeks, maybe more, depending on who I hear back from. So yeah, we're getting rolling on our guests. We like to have a good chunk of our guest list, or at least a good chunk of our heavy hitters done before the end of the year. So definitely in the fall, you'll see a lot more guest announcements from us before the end of the calendar year.
Perfect. I have a few suggestions. Just from one con nerd to another. MomoCon needs a parade. I know that's going to be impossible given that section of Atlanta it's in. But MomoCon could have a parade. That would be nice.
Well, okay. So let me take off my official hat.
Okay.
This is not happening this year, but this is my dream eventually, okay, for what I'd like to get. I love DragonCon's parade, and I love the idea of having something that's like open to the general public for the big spectacle, so people, even if they're not coming to the show, can come and see it. But here's what I want to do. And again, this is not happening in 2025 or in the near future, because I don't know how to do this yet. It's just kind of a pie in the sky. I want to have fireworks. I want to set anime and AMVs up on a screen in the park, in Centennial Park, and have timed fireworks like the Disney fireworks show. That's my dream.
That would be so hard because, like, the park has that amphitheater section, and you can set up a screen right there, or even on the lawn. Like, it's designed to do something. And they do
fireworks there, like on New Year's and stuff. So, like, I know it's possible. It's just the cost and the coordination and the permits and all that. Again, not happening in 25, but for like things I'd like to do in the indeterminate future, fireworks. That's one I want to do real bad.
You could even jazz it up a little bit and even make it like a outdoor rave concert type of thing, because MomoCon's already known for the rave, and like you got an outdoor concert venue like not even a block away from the venue hall. True. That would be.
It is interesting for an outdoor concert venue too. I agree, but man, I'm in love with fireworks. That's just my jam.
That's interesting. And since you said fireworks, and with MomoCon being on the Memorial Day weekend, this is my second just random piece of please do this. Since you already did Monday this year and you're going back to Thursday next year forever, you might as well just keep Monday and be a 5-day con.
No, I'm good. We ain't doing that.
Like, so DragonCon did that very thing a couple years ago, obviously it worked out for DragonCon. To be fair, DragonCon starts when the first cosplayer shows up, and it ends like 2 weeks after the official con ends, because people just go back and hang out in that area. So DragonCon never ends or starts; it's always within your heart.
It's just there, exactly.
It is just there, but.
I could your first suggestion I could get behind, at least in a different way, but your second suggestion, no, I don't need a mutiny on my hands. Okay. Like I just see me coming back to volunteers and be like, we're adding a deck. No, we're not. No, we are not.
Okay. Just a suggestion. But I one thing I did this year, and I'm going to talk about it, because I've been emailing you about this a little bit before MomoCon started, is I was working on a documentary, that, to be honest, got a lot bigger than I anticipated real quick, but I did what I could to accommodate everyone who wanted to volunteer their time. So again, thank you for everyone who who reached out and just wanted to be a part of the Black and Nerdy documentary. But I learned a couple of things by doing this documentary. And the main thing that I learned is that you have no idea what MomoCon means to the people who attend the MomoCon. Even the volunteers, like I was kind of set back by some of the answers that I got from a lot of the guests, especially a lot of the people of color, a lot of the queer people who identify as queer, people who identify as whatever. It didn't matter. Everybody who I interviewed, especially for like the MomoCon section of what I'm doing, had nothing but kind words to say about MomoCon. And I didn't know that this convention would resonate with people in the way that it did. What is it about MomoCon that makes it special, in your opinion? I know you can't answer for everybody, but in your opinion, what makes it special that makes people want to feel like this?
Well, I mean, I feel like to a degree, I think that all fan conventions are special to the people who attend them. Now, they vary a lot, obviously, but I remember the first time I went to a convention and I walked in, and I mean, I was all of 16 years old, and I was into all this nerdy stuff, and nobody in my high school was into it. And I living on an island, I'm sitting here living on an island with the internet as my only companion. Obviously, I am 40 years old, so this was a while ago, and it was not quite, you couldn't get everything on the internet kind of like you can today. But walking into that room and just being surrounded by people who were interested in something that I thought I was the only person in my town, maybe on earth, I don't know, that was into, was an incredible experience, an absolutely incredible experience. And it changed my life, changed my life, because this is what I do now. It changed the whole trajectory of my life. And even the idea that we could be something like that for people, that we could have that impact, is worth doing this. It's worth doing it every year just for that. Because I know what I felt like, and I know that other people have much worse circumstances in their day-to-day lives, or, are struggling, and giving somebody an outlet for that is so important. It's so important. And so a big piece of what we do is feedback. Like we say this in our customer service training for all of our volunteers, and it's true. We have a good idea, like a broad stroke idea of when things go good, when things go bad. Like I can tell you broadly which ideas that we tried in 24 were good, which ones that we tried in 24 we wouldn't do again, and stuff like that. But it's feedback makes so much of a difference. You pick out, like, you can get gems by listening to people, by just listening to people, of what they want to see, what the types of guests they want to see, what stuff, like how they want to be included. And just straight up listening to people is a really big piece of what we do. Sometimes we can't do what they want us to do. Like I can't add another day to the show as an example, sometimes it's just like outside of the purview of what we are able and capable of doing. But if we're capable of doing something that's going to make somebody's life better, we're going to do it. Like it's a no-brainer. Like if it's not going to make us go bankrupt or not have the show again, and we can add this one thing that's going to make a quality of life better, that's what we're going to do. So
that is awesome. I'm going to piggyback off a lot of things that you said. You mentioned that MomoCon itself is a safe space. It's inclusionary. Like a lot of people just feel welcome to come there. The representation that MomoCon, because I've been there in like 2015 and 16 and go on the panels and seeing the guests, and then to this year is like, oh, this is like such a difference of how you're looking for panelists and the type of panels that the con offers. One thing I have noticed, and I will say this, and I don't know how to transition into this without just saying it, MomoCon is Black. And what I mean by that is MomoCon is essentially a blurred convention with the number of attendees that's there, how the blurred community shows up in droves, Black cosplayers, Black nerds who run organizations like Blurred Over, Ranger Stop and Pop, all, a lot of Hilton George with BlerdCon. He's there in strides every year, and he's there just there talking up a storm. But like the last 2-3 years I've gone to MomoCon, I've seen the Black representation not only through the con itself level up, but the attendees come there and they are excited to be around other Black nerds and have a large amount. Because even with Dragon Con, no offense to Dragon Con, but Dragon Con needs a lot of help in the diversity department, and they do have a diversity track. They do have Black Geeks of Dragon Con. You can walk around Dragon Con, and it feels really kind of like, oh, okay, everyone's nerds, but I still feel a little uncomfortable to some degree. And you got to like look on the rocks for people who look and who identify as you at Dragon Con, but at MomoCon, no, it's not that. Black people are everywhere, queer people are everywhere, just being themselves. No, I rarely hear any judgment towards anyone at MomoCon versus like a Dragon Con. Dragon Con, I hear left and right, but at MomoCon, everyone's accepting. But getting back to the root of what I was saying, MomoCon is a Black convention in spirit to a lot of his attendees. MomoCon has gone out its way to get a lot of more POC representation with his guests, with his panels, with the panelists. With the type of people that not type of people, but like with just people who come, and like the blurred representation is deep at MomoCon, and I am like all about that. And not to discredit anybody else, like again, there's a lot of other stuff that MomoCon has to offer, but you go to MomoCon, you're like, yeah, I'm in an Atlanta nerd space. This is like just the vibe that MomoCon is giving. Is giving a lot of positive energy within the Blerd community. So I want to thank you for that. But two, what do you think led to that transformation? Because it wasn't always like this with MomoCon.
Yeah. I'll go back to what I said before. It's listening to people. Like, it's straight up listening to people. Just because I know some of this may be on audio, I am white. I am a white woman, and I understand that. No matter how much, and also no matter how much I listen to people, I don't have the same lived experience as someone who is not like me. And because of that, we take a lot of care to make sure our leadership is diverse. Our panelists are diverse. Our guests are diverse, because I can talk all day about how I understand X or Y community, but if I'm not in that community and I'm not living that, and I'm not getting reacted to by people outside of me as though I am from that community, I don't know what it's like. Like, I don't have a good enough handle on that to be anything, to be authentic. So because of that, we listen to people who are authentic in the space. We book people. We want to hear from people who have the diversity, who represent our crowd, and just naturally doing that for several years has brought in a bunch of accepting crowds, like that. The Black community, the queer community, there's a lot of, and like we're getting an increasing Spanish language speaking community. So a big initiative we have for this year is to make our website, for example, not only accessibility friendly, but language friendly. We're working on a Spanish language landing page for people who speak Spanish to make that more an inclusive thing. So if I'm trying to I'm 17 years old, I'm a kid, I'm trying to convince my parents who only speak Spanish to let me come to this convention, let's make it accommodating for them. Let's make it easier for them to convince their parents, for example, or if they're in their 20s, if they feel more comfortable with Spanish as a first language. Just honestly, all of it comes down to listening to people and having people in that in these verticals representing the area that they are, like that they representing the group that they are a part of, so that we're not trying to come in here and have some kind of initiative by a bunch of like old white men in suits, like a company necessarily would. We want to bring in people from the community to help do this, to help make it good for that community. And that's just helped us grow a lot across the board, across a bunch of different verticals and demographics.
That's good. Has MomoCon received any, I would want to say, backlash because of its diversity and its strides to be more inclusive and diverse?
If we get backlash, we laugh at those people because we value diversity. If somebody wants to come up here and tell me how they don't like, X, Y, or Z because it's like diverse, or we occasionally we do get people that are upset, not a lot, about, we have gender neutral bathrooms. Not all bathrooms, but some of them, we relabel them as gender neutral so people can be comfortable going to them. Like, it's not every bathroom and it hurts nobody. And then I'll always have somebody complain about that. And I'm like, well, use a different bathroom then. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, if you're going to come out here and be angry that, like, we're trying to accommodate for people, I don't know what they expect me to say. Like, no, we're not going to stop accommodating for people because you have real weird ideas, but okay.
Since you bring that up, let's talk about that for a second. The gender neutral bathroom thing, because that I hear about it every year that you guys have done it, and then this year I experienced it, and I had to double take. Like, wait a minute, did I walk in the wrong restroom? I understand.
You get used to it, but yeah, when you first use it, it's like, oh, like
Yeah, and my main concern was like, wait a minute, I just want to be respectful to all the women that are just in the restroom. So I'm gonna just wait my turn, and then I'm like, wait, I gotta use the restroom though. I really gotta use the restroom. Oh, it's so simple. People just have to use the restroom. Just let them use the restroom. Okay.
Exactly.
But like it did take me back. I walked in and I was like, wait a minute, hold on, they're here. Wait a minute. Hold on. I looked back out, I saw it, and then I heard other people complain about it. It was mostly cisgender men who just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Notice the women's restroom was also transgendered. No one went in the women's restroom at all.
You'd think they would, because it's mostly stalls. Like, that's more private. Like, why? That seems like the ideal. Then nobody's looking at you doing nothing. It's mostly stalls.
So it was weird, but again, like once I got used to it, I was like, "Oh, this isn't a big deal. If I have to use the restroom, then I'll have to use the restroom." My only issue once I got used to it was, that last day I had some Taco Bell, and I was like, "I don't think y'all want to be in here." Just for your safety, I don't think y'all want to be in here. This is great and progressive, but it's gonna smell. Just letting y'all know. So that was it. That was it for me. But I heard a lot of people complaining about it, and again, everyone that was complaining about it, cis men, always complaining.
Say, if you want to complain about like a bathroom existing when others exist, some feedback you got to take with a grain of salt. But
yeah, I know.
I was gonna say I'm proud of the differences and all the different aspects of our show that we help cater to, and I don't care that much if people have an issue with our diversity, because it's like, well, get used to it. People exist in the world that don't look like you. You need to accept those people and move on with your life. Like, I don't know what to tell somebody that has a complaint about that,
Right. And that's a message that everybody needs to hear from every background and ethnicity, because like I hear it all the time from this community, that community, just all the negativity about other communities. I'm like, are y'all paying attention to the news? Do y'all see what's happening to our government right now? We're on the brink of World War III, but you concerned about the dumbest things? All right, cool. I'm gonna go just keep preparing for me. But I hate to get political in the nerd podcast, but the world is crazy, and like, to bring it back full circle, what MomoCon is doing is keeping some of us, I say 56,000 of us, sane. So again, just thank you so much for MomoCon, because again, it's just has a special place in my heart now. I feel like I'm family when I'm there.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, it does. We're going to go through many more iterations, and we're going to have many more conventions. And, sometimes we're going to try stuff and everybody's going to hate it, and we're not going to do it again. And sometimes we're going to try stuff and everybody's going to love it, and we're going to keep doing that. And, all we usually ask for is, if we try something and it doesn't work, just bear with us. We'll fix it for the next time, or we'll make it, incrementally better and keep trying to get better. So it's just not, sometimes things don't always work out on the first go round. Sometimes it takes a minute.
That brings up an interesting question. What are some things that MomoCon has done that we'll never see at MomoCon again because it didn't work out?
Winterfest.
You got me. Oh, yeah. You got me. I walked into it.
No, I think Winterfest was fairly successful. It's just it's really taxing for our volunteers to have to do a show like one convention like 5 months before a second one. Nobody liked that. Like, everybody was like, let's not do that again. And I was like, that's cool. Let's not do that again. But that had more to do with our capabilities of doing stuff than it did. Like, the show itself was very successful. We were very happy with the turnout. The people that were there seemed to have a good time. But it's just not something that I think we'd do again. We try a lot of stuff kind of in the mid-year to test. So we do MomoCon on Tour events, which happen all year round. Some of our more popular ones are like Cosplayers on Ice that we do in December and
Yes.
January. And then we'll do like photo shoots in parks, and we'll do a swap meet. And we do like the garage sale swap meet with Dragon Con in like January or usually February. We do a dance in January, but like we don't always have the time to be able to do this. We've tried a variety of things. I won't say anything is particularly off the table other than doing a whole nother convention. Like we've tried stuff in the past that maybe didn't work out this year, but might work out 4 years down the road when we have a different space, different capabilities, stuff like that. So I wouldn't say anything is really off the table. It's just some stuff we tried, like we welcomed a group called True Dungeon, which did like it's kind of like an escape game and kind of like a LARP where like it's like you're going through a dungeon with your team, like RPG style, but it's like a physical build out and you go into a room and it's really cool. And we did it in 2023, but in 2024, because we had a weird space layout, we couldn't do it in 2024. Like, and that's not because it was bad or anything. It's just because our layout was just, we couldn't fit it. So sometimes stuff like that happens, but yeah, but we're always trying new stuff. And we're always going to try new stuff. So,
okay, cool. Before we go, let's talk about you and just get to know you a little bit. Just like lightning round answers, though. What are some of your favorite fandoms to geek out to?
Video games. I love anime. I love animation. I love weird animation. I love art house animation, the kind of stuff you'd watch on MTV in the middle of the night and like when you were a kid. I like that in particular. Anything that's like in a film festival that's animation, I'm usually into because I like weird avant-garde stuff. I have a lot of weird, strange fandoms. I am obsessed with Law and Order SVU. Specifically SVU. It is my favorite Law and Order. But I'm into a lot of fandoms. I'm into most major fandoms. I play a lot of board games. I'm super into board games. I'm not into RPGs, but I'm into a lot of science fiction. I watch everything except Doctor Who. I really don't like Doctor Who. I don't know why. It's just never done it for me.
Gotcha.
But I love pretty much all of the science fiction. I read constantly. I read a lot of fantasy novels. I read a lot of hard sci-fi. I like Arthur C. Clarke in particular. But yeah.
When did you realize you were a nerd?
Yeah, I've been a nerd my whole life. I feel like I haven't existed and not been a nerd. So I was, quiet, smart kid in class and kind of nerdy. I didn't really find my own until college. And then I couldn't shut up. I've never shut up since. So I just found a bunch of nerdy people just like me that wanted to hear what I had to say. So that's where we are.
I think that's the case with a lot of nerds. Because I think every nerd who exists who went to high school, it wasn't until after high school or once they were in college where they like, hey, I found a bunch of people who accept me for me and X, Y, and Z, and they became themselves. So I think we all kind of find ourselves late in high school, early college years. So that's wonderful. But thank you, Jess, so much for coming on. I am happy to have you on again if you ever wanted to come on again. But before we go, I have two more questions for you. One of them is, well, it's not a question. The first thing is, why don't you go ahead and promote MomoCon 2025 for us again?
Absolutely.
The second thing is, I'm going to give you a soapbox. I give all my guests a soapbox to stand on to talk about any issue or anything that's close to them, whether it's positive or negative. It's your floor to speak about anything you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, I hope to see everybody come out to MomoCon 2025. You can check it out at momocon.com on the web. Registration is available now. Hotels will not be available until the fall probably, but you can get your badge and your 4-day membership now or single days. All are available on momocon.com. The dates are May 22nd through 25th, 2024, and we will be back to the Thursday to Sunday schedule. So hope to see you all there. And for my soapbox moment, because everyone in the world needs to know this, and this is totally unrelated to anything that we've talked about. When you go to the post office and you're shipping something for Christmas, have your stuff ready. You can look it all up online. Don't be that guy. Don't be that asshole that shows up to the post office and doesn't have any of your things ready. And then you want to complain that the postal workers aren't doing their job and they're too slow. And you show up and you're the one who's screwed up. because if I get in a fight, it's going to be at the post office one day. And it's going to be with one of these people that does not respect postal workers, because I'm tired of it. People should respect people that are serving them a whole lot more. And everybody pay attention to when you ship things, especially at Christmas. It is the busiest time of year, especially people that only ship at Christmas. They're like Sunday drivers. They're only out like every once and again. Just look up your stuff. Be ready. Be ready. But that's my soapbox.
Do you work in the post office?
I do not, but I ship
okay.
a lot of things. I ship a lot of things at the post office. And I'm telling you, if I go to jail one day and you get a call and you're like, oh, Jess is in jail, know that it's going to be I got in a fight at the post office with somebody being an idiot and being rude to a postal worker. I don't like it when people are rude to the people trying to help them. I just don't like.
I do understand that. I see that a lot, especially like in retail stores. From someone who's worked 20 years of his life in retail, I just hate seeing the general public act towards retail workers any kind of ways. I'm like, they're literally at work and they're trying to help. Well, not at Walmart, but like any other retail store, they're generally just trying to help you. So be nice to those people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God, the sky just opened up and there's lightning. So that's the end of Blerdkast. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump off before lightning strikes. But thank you guys for listening or watching. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know why I said that, but this has been Blerdkast. You can listen to Blerdkast everywhere on the interwebs: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and so many more places. You can also subscribe to Blerdography, my YouTube channel. That's Blerdography on YouTube. There we go again. I'm always messing up on exactly this part. Every podcast I do it. You can subscribe to Blerdography on my YouTube channel. Blerdkast will be dropped there too. You can follow Blerdography everywhere on the interwebs. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I am really active on TikTok. And I just want to thank my very special guest, Jess, chairman, chairwoman, chairperson of MomoCon. Thank you for coming on, and thank you again for all your hard work. MomoCon 2024 was not only a success, but it was very fun.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, and thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. And just again, thank you for all your help behind the scenes, and just thank you for everything that you have done. Not only for me, but just for all the other press outlets that go to MomoCon and try to make content, all the other content creators. MomoCon is definitely a fan con, and I cannot wait to show the world more of what MomoCon has to offer. But see y'all in the next episode.